You know, we tend to fixate on these big eureka moments in science, a new vaccine is developed, or there's a huge breakthrough in neurodegenerative research.
Hmm.
But we completely gloss over the invisible infrastructure that actually makes those breakthroughs useful.
Right.
I was reading through the notes on this company, SMA Worldwide, and it just struck me. You can have the most advanced medicine in the world, but if the logistics fail somewhere between, say, Germany and Scotland, that vial is just, it's worthless.
It's exactly that. It's the last mile problem. But the stakes are, infinitely higher. SMA Worldwide isn't just moving boxes. They're managing thermal decay.
Thermal decay.
Yeah, they're experts in moving cargo, where
Yeah.
the margin for error is basically zero. This isn't about tossing a couple of freezer packs in a cooler. We're talking about maintaining minus 78.5 degrees Celsius across international borders.
And you can't use regular ice packs for that, can you? It's not just that they don't get cold enough, they create moisture, condensation.
Exactly. And if you're shipping, a cardboard boxed pharmaceutical or a really sensitive bit of lab equipment, water is the absolute enemy. It ruins labels. It weakens the packaging.
It can compromise the sterility of the whole thing.
Precisely. And that's where dry ice is so different. It's this process called sublimation.
It goes straight from a solid to a gas, right? It just sort of vanishes.
Vanishes, leaving everything perfectly dry. But that one unique property also creates this massive logistical headache.
Because you're shipping a refrigerant that is actively disappearing every second it's in transit.
Yes.
That's the part that really jumped out at me from the material. This cool and calculated approach they have. It's a kind of volume to duration ratio, isn't it? You can't just guess how much you need.
You absolutely cannot guess. You have to account for the sublimation rate, which changes based on, well, everything. The insulation of the container is a big one.
Right. I've seen it can lose anywhere from, 3 to 8% of its mass every day.
That's right. And SMA has to run the math for every single shipment. They factor in the payload weight, the volume of the container, the expected temperature along the route, and of course the total transit time.
So if you plan for a 24-hour trip and a truck gets stuck at customs for 6 hours...
Your math has to hold up. There's no room for error.
Let's make this real. The notes mentioned a brain specimen. It's traveling from Manchester to a neuroscience lab in London for research.
A perfect high-stakes example.
If that temperature drifts even slightly because the sublimation calculation was off by a few hours, the cellular structure degrades.
And the research data is lost. The entire sample is useless.
So it creates this strange paradox. Your first thought might be, okay, well, why not just overpack it? Just fill the container with dry ice to be safe.
You'd think so, but you can't.
Because of the gas. The CO2.
Exactly. Carbon dioxide displaces oxygen. There are incredibly strict regulations on how much dry ice you can put in a truck cabin or an aircraft hold before it becomes a suffocation hazard.
So they have to thread this tiny needle between enough ice to survive the whole trip and not so much ice that it violates safety regulations.
It is a constant balancing act.
Which I think brings us to the human element. We can talk about the physics all day, but at the end of it, there's a person who has to drive that truck. That vaccine shipment from Germany to rural Scotland, that is a long and unpredictable journey. The driver isn't just a courier at that point.
No, they're a custodian of a lifeline. That's the real shift in perspective here. When a client hires SMA Worldwide, they're not really buying a delivery service. They're buying risk mitigation.
Peace of mind.
Total peace of mind. They need to know their compliance is handled, the reputation is safe, the drivers, the handlers, they understand that the math implies a deadline. They treat that specimen with the seriousness it deserves.
It completely redefines what express delivery even means. It's not about being fast, it's about being precise.
That's the key.
So if you're listening to this and you run operations for, say, a medical lab, a research institute, or any high-value goods where thermal integrity is everything, you really need to be looking at a specialist like SMA Worldwide.
They're the experts for a reason. You can find their details pretty easily online at smaworldwide.com. Or I believe the customer service email is just cnas@smaworldwide.com.
We'll put that in the notes. It makes you think. The next time you hear about a life-saving treatment arriving, or even just a perfectly fresh meal from across the continent, maybe pause and consider the invisible, calculated cold that made it all possible.
It's the science that keeps the science alive.